Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com. And where's everybody? There's nobody else. It's just me sitting here. Why? Because this isn't your normal Raw Talk. Now, I have an interview coming up right now. This is a special edition thing. The interview was with Shane Hurlbut. Now, if you don't know Shane, you're about to get to know who he is, but he is a force to be reckoned with in Hollywood, in filmmaking. He's a director of photography. He's a visionary with how to use gear. The guy has done so many different things, and we sat down together to have an interview, and it turned out to be over an hour. So instead of trying to put that into a regular Raw Talk episode, I thought it would be best, and the team thought it would be best, that we just have it stand on its own, because it was that good of an interview. The stories are so visual. I mean, he is a visual storyteller with his words, and then obviously as a director of photography, he's a visual storyteller there. This is an incredible interview, so get ready to listen to it and enjoy it, be inspired, and learn from it. And here is the interview with Shane Hurlbut. Shane, are you part of the secret society of the skulls?
Yes, I am.
Yes. Do you have the ring? Did they have rings? Is that what they had?
God, I'm trying to remember. No, remember they had the
key?
Branded them.
Yeah.
They branded them, and then that's where the watch.
The watch went over
the sponsor watch.
Right.
Went over it, so it hid the mark.
Man, the skulls was funny.
Hill Harper, now he's got his own show on Headline News Network.
Is that the father?
No, he was the African-American guy who got killed.
Who dropped on his neck.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then they have the footage.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Not the senator.
No.
You don't have a skull ring?
I don't have a skull ring. I was hoping I would have been branded right here, and then had that brightly watch. I didn't get that.
You didn't get the watch?
No. Paul Walker, God rest his soul, and Josh Jackson did.
They got the actual watches?
Oh, of course.
For those of you who don't know, we're talking with Shane about, well, we were at breakfast, and the skulls came up. We were talking about different movies that he's worked on, and there was something about the skulls that I liked. I don't know if it was really, really good, or was it just entertaining. But yeah, then you were telling me a story. Can you tell the story about what happened when you were researching?
So I was sent down to New Haven to kind of document the architecture for the production designer, as well as like taking a lot of pagan symbols and visit each of the secret society. I think there's like 5 or 6 of them. There's Key and Scroll, Book, and I can't remember all the ones, and Skull and Bones being the most famous. And Wolf's Head, that was a real unique one. And I had been there for about a week, and every night I would camp out like somebody on a stakeout. I had my 70-200 and my Nikon camera, film camera at this point. And I was just waiting for somebody to go and knock at the door. It was these 2 big black doors, and it had this weird hole that was cut into it and a steel box that protruded about 4 to 5 inches outside of the black door with a little pull handle. I was like, what the hell is that thing? And I was, all of a sudden, like 10:30 at night, I was supposed to leave on a plane the next day, and, no activity. I just, for some reason, every time I went there, nothing was going on. I was like, they were on to me. So I was, in the shadows underneath a couple trees in my car, and I see a figure walk up, and they go to the door, and they open the little box, and they put their hand in, and all of a sudden I see this green light emitting. And I was like, oh my God, they have a hand scanner. And I was like immediately on the phone with Rob Cohen. I'm like, you would not believe what just went down. And of course I couldn't digitally send him the photographs. I had to go and have them developed and get that all done. But he was like freaking out. So we immediately started to incorporate those type of things within the skulls. And yeah, it was a lot of fun to go to Maury's and see where all the scullers hung out and take advantage of some sculling competition, and just really get the feeling of what Yale was about.
Right.
And then that really educates you as a cinematographer, as a visual artist, to really, because that's what you want the audience to feel. So how can I take that is surrounding me right now and infuse that with the audience? Not only the script, not only the production design, but how will the photography feel and make you as an audience feel like this is a grand institution, that there's tons of history here. How does that drip from the screen?
And so as a DP, your job is to, you make the movie, basically. If it doesn't look a specific way, you direct, not direct, but, you do direct how it's going to look.
Correct, yes. Director of photography, I'm in charge of the photography on the film. The director and I work very closely, as well as the production designer. We're like the three musketeers, let's say. We're going on all the location scouts together. We're, talking through the script, sitting in the room, trying to bring out the visual style of what each room is going to look like, each location, what is, and then it's our job to then educate everyone else on this vision. The director has so many hats to wear and so many conversations to have that both the production designer and I really take the lead and try to educate hair and makeup and wardrobe and grip and electric and set deck and all these other departments. So we're trying to make one combined movie. Many times you're all making your own movie, and then you have to try and bring that and metamorphosize that into one vision.
So let's go way back. Let's take it back to where did your passion come from? When did you start realizing this was a direction you wanted to go? You wanted to get into filmmaking. You wanted to do this type of stuff.
I'd say when I was around 12 years old, my mom and dad bought me a Super 8 camera, and I started making little home movies. Not necessarily editing them at all, just taking pictures of my dad combining in the field, taking picture of my cousins, us running around. It was not anything from a visual sense or style. It was basically documentation. And we took a lot of train trips as a family. My dad was a huge historian. He loved history, my mom as well, and they wanted me to travel. They couldn't really afford for me to travel the world. We didn't go abroad, but I saw every state in the United States except Hawaii. And we did that all on the train. And I would take movies while I was on the train, and to all these places and unique, incredible locations we were at, and that kind of sparked a little, interest. Then I was distracted with sports, and I was a really good baseball player, and in soccer, I played semi-pro for a little bit. So I was kind of distracted by a lot of more of the sports stuff. And then I was a disc jockey. I loved music. I had a sound system that would deafen people a mile out. My I put a lot of the money that my parents had given me working on the farm. I literally would wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, hop on a tractor, go to school, come back, go do my sports, 4:30, 5:30, get back home, hop back on the tractor, eat in the field. I mean, this was my life. And that enabled me to make some extra cash. Not a lot, but enough to buy a couple turntables and a really big amplifier and some speakers, and I became like the town DJ. I did all the high school dances for all the schools in our area. I did proms, all this stuff. It actually morphed into an air band, if you could believe it. We, a group of 5 of us, created this massive air band in the late 70s, early 80s, and we actually traveled all over New York State, playing in the Catskills and playing in the Adirondacks and Boy Scout and Girl Scout camps, and it was a lot of fun. I was the lead singer and lead guitarist. I couldn't play a lick of anything, but
you were good at air guitar.
Exactly.
There was a movie about that.
Yeah,
I think.
What was that? I loved it. It was it was a rush because we had been playing at like these nickel and dime like little camps and stuff, and then we came across this one in the Catskills where I walked in on stage and there was 5,600 screaming girls, and I was like, this. I could only imagine what it's like for a true rock band when they walk out on stage, and they were just so into it. And there was this one moment where they actually thought we were playing because they would throw out requests, and everything was on a 1/4-inch reel-to-reel tape, our whole program. And we had a remote where I could put my foot down and it would stop it, and then so we could talk like we were really playing, and then hit the thing and then cut right into it. And this one girl yelled from the audience, this was back when Asia, the band, was hot. She goes, "Play some Heat of the Moment," and I'm like, "Yeah," and hit the button, and it just happened to be the next song on the tape.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh my God, these guys are amazing."
That's good. That's good. So, moving on to say college.
Yeah.
You go to college for filmmaking?
Yes, I went for radio and television. Fell in love with radio, then moved to television. On my end of my television that year, I went back and made a short film with my friend who went to USC, and it was back in my hometown of Aurora, New York, and it was all nights, and I basically was helping the director of photography sling cable and set lights and everything, and that's what changed everything for me. That was kind of the first like suggestion and passion of me, like saying, okay, I think I could do this. So I changed. I was going to go to Emerson College on television, and I changed my whole major after I landed there. And I did actually a television degree and a film degree in 2 years, which usually takes 4.
Wow.
So I hyper saturated myself. I was doing 2 and 3 television courses, as well as 2 or 3 Film 101, Film 202, all of them, practicum, everything, all within 2 years. And then graduated from that and thought I was actually going to be a producer. I didn't really like lighting, even though I had that kind of the bug put in my ear with that small short film, but I had forgotten about it really, and I was good with numbers, and I could convince anyone to do anything. So those were good producing specs.
Sure.
So I pounded the pavement in Boston, trying to get a job, any entry level at a production company, and it was dry. So I started out as a rental house, at a rental house, working, stacking shelves, packing trucks for $3.50 an hour. And within 3 months, I was running the rental department and then going out on jobs. And that's where I started for the love of filmmaking.
Right.
And that was a year out of college.
Right. I mean, that shows how important it is to sometimes take a job, any job, and work your way up into it, because then it puts you out onto the set, into the real world where people are doing these things, which probably leads to getting asked to do some work.
Exactly. I mean, I cannot stress enough that starting at the bottom gives you such a deep respect for all of your team around you, as well as a deep respect for what it takes to get to where you are. And it gives you the understanding of you can kind of do everything.
Yeah.
I started packing trucks. The reason I was able to get as a grip truck driver is because I drove the 10-ton trucks on our farm. They were grain trucks. We, slung corn, wheat, oats, red kidney beans. I drove the truck. My dad and I, we had 2 10-ton trucks, and I had to get a Class 1 license and everything to be able to drive those. So when I came to L.A., it was like a no-brainer. That was the first thing I went for because I knew I had the talent, and I could back up semis. I could do whatever it took with that. And that got my foot in the door on a low-budget horror film called Phantasm 2. It was Don Coscarelli directed it. Angus Scrimm was a mortician that was from Mars, and he had these crazy-ass dwarfs that, would stab you and eat you alive, and then he had this silver sphere that flew through the air and had forks that came out of it and stuck into your head, and then a drill came out and drilled your brains out.
Nice.
So that was kind of my first film, moving to Hollywood.
Well, talk about moving to Hollywood. How did you make because where did you grow up? Where was the farm?
The farm was in Sherwood, New York, very near Ithaca. Mm-hmm. My dad was a professor's assistant at Cornell, and my mom taught 6th grade and also had a catering business.
So then how did you make the jump going from the East Coast all the way to L.A.? I mean, what was it? You just showed up and was like, this is what I want to do?
Well, there's a catalyst of realizing in Boston the only way that I was going to move up was if I actually committed murder on the person ahead of me. That's how entrenched the Boston market was. The person that had been the gaffer was going to be the gaffer till he died. And there was only 2 or 3 in town. So you couldn't all of a sudden say, hey, I'm going to be a lighting technician and I'm going to, it just didn't happen. And when I realized that, I didn't want prison time. And I thought, okay, let me go to Los Angeles, where all of my friends have said it's the Wild West out there. And people, if you're good at what you do, you will rise. Mm. And that's what we did.
What years?
This is 1987.
Okay.
My fiancée, Lydia, who I have known since I was 3 years old, we grew up together, same hometown, dated her since 9th grade. We packed up a U-Haul and a Ford Ranger pickup truck that my dad gifted me, and we drove across country camping the whole way.
Wow.
Because we couldn't afford hotels.
Wow.
Or motels.
So going back to the school thing real quick, how important is it today for somebody who wants to be a filmmaker to go to college versus finding your videos online or your education? Is it important today to do the school route?
Well, I think school does 2 things for you. It gives you responsibility, and it gives you the ability to be a good human being, because you have to learn how to live with other people. You have to manage your checkbook. You have to manage your finances. You have to take care of yourself. I think my biggest education from my 4 years was that. Is those responsibilities are the foundation of building a caring, compassionate individual, having to live with roommates that you really don't like, and you got to be able to deal with it. You can't just cry uncle and go running back home. So that's what I think from an education standpoint of my short little films and my cheesy ass Toda lights and stuff that I had to work with and pretty much substandard cameras. That wasn't the education for me. I came out having little to no experience, but with the passion to want to do something great.
Sure.
And that's what drove me. I took everything that my dad had taught me on the farm, the common sense, the cob jobbing, the just making it work, the thinking on by the seat of your pants kind of, common sense. Because, Mother Nature will kick your ass in farming. And my dad was all about plan B, C, D, and E. And now where I am as a cinematographer, the plan B has to be better than the plan A that took you 4 months to plot and plan. And that's the one that you usually punt to when all hell breaks loose. And you got to be able to think very good on your feet. And that's the farm training. I mean, it just really resonated with me. And it's something that, is something that's like the core of my soul.
Right. So back to LA, how do you get into the music scene? How do you end up starting to work with the grunge bands and some of the largest bands in the 90s to do their videos?
The one thing that I started as a grip truck driver, then I moved to a key grip. So key grip basically is responsible for all the camera motion on the set, cranes, dollies, as well as shaping light. You're the person that adds contrast. So you're diffusing it, shaping it, manicuring it, dappling it, all the idiosyncrasies of quality and control and contrast. And from there, I moved up to a gaffer, which is basically in charge of all the lights and distributing power and working side by side, both the key grip and the gaffer working side by side with the director of photography to bring the vision to life. That whole gaffing thing really kind of took off, and I started to get noticed on how strong I was in the lighting department. This grunge director, very experimental director, Kevin Kerslake, kind of noticed that through the grapevine. And he was a director cameraman. So he was shooting as well as directing and creating these concepts and treatments and everything. And he asked me to come and light his music videos. And that's where it kind of all started. I think one of our first projects was Come As You Are, Nirvana.
Wow.
And that was my introduction into the grunge era of rock and roll. I had done a lot of music videos for Van Halen, Guns N' Roses. Oh my God, I did 104 music videos in 1 year.
Wow.
I was just on a roll. I loved music so much that music videos everyone was like, how can you do those? They're such a grind. I mean, the minute that music fired up and I could hear it 150 times during the day on the shoot, I just never got sick of it. I would always find something unique to do and a different shot to master or a note to add some kind of accent. And Kevin Kerslake slowly started giving me the reins as director of photography, and he slid more into the director's seat, and that's how I transitioned into shooting all of Stone Temple Pilots, Smashing Pumpkins, 3 or 4 Nirvanas, all that whole grunge era.
That's some good stuff.
It's funny. It's over at Hurlbut Visuals, I have a lot of interns and mentees working with me, and a lot of the staff, and I'll all of a sudden throw out, "Oh yeah, I did filter. Hey man, nice shot," and they're like, "Oh my God, that video was so huge for me," and they're like, "What else have you done?" And then you just start stacking up the videos, and they're like, "There's no way." That happened in the office about 2 weeks ago. It was like a great going back into the past of like remembering all these bands that I had worked with and stuff. It was really fun.
So you just mentioned interns and mentees. How does somebody get to be that for you?
I have had probably 8 that I have mentored over since Hurlbut Visuals got started in 2009. And you have to be different. There has to be a passion in you and an excellence that you have to work very hard. A lot of the people that have come up with me are working on most of my movies and have started a whole freelance career without me. And that's just, tenacity and resiliency and being able to, I put them all in the fire huge before they even get on set, because I got to see how they react. So I pressure them, I push them way to the breaking point. And how do they handle that stress? Are they going to melt down? Are they going to explode? Are they going to go internal? What are they going to do? Yeah. Those are the people that rise to the top, and they are the ones that come out with me on the set. I'll share one story with you. So we're doing Fathers and Daughters, Russell Crowe and Bruce Greenwood. Big, intense scene at like this gentleman's club in Pittsburgh. And I have 2 of my mentees that have now, I've taken them out on their first film. Well, I guess one of them, it was their second film. The other was their first. One was a Movitech. The other one was a DIT. And really their first film, because Derek Johnson, the DIT, he had done Need for Speed, but he was like my assistant, he wasn't a DIT or anyone. He was absolutely essential in that, because he was a walking Canon manual for the C500 and the 1DC. Yeah. When all my experienced ACs didn't want to read the manual or know anything about the camera, he would run all over the place to make sure everything was programmed correctly. So he
made himself needed.
Exactly.
Which gets you noticed.
Correct. And so on Fathers and Daughters, we shoot this intense one camera shot, single camera shot that does it's like a 5-minute sequence where Bruce Greenwood comes in the door. We swing around him, reveal the whole gentleman's club, slide in. He, puts his hand up. The guy knows he wants a gin and tonic or something. He sits down and squares off between Russell Crowe and him. And then the scene, kept on in that coverage for about 5 minutes. Shoot the whole sequence. Everyone is ecstatic. The director is just incredibly happy. They go to eject the mag, and they pull the power while they're ejecting it. Well, Convergent Design on their Gemini device, it's all virtual files. So if you pull the power while you're exporting, while you're ejecting the drive, then nothing is there. So at that point, how do you tell Russell Crowe and Bruce Greenwood that everything we shot has been lost?
Yeah, I don't know.
You don't. Luckily, we had the backup that was in the camera. It was 8-bit, but we went with it because we felt it was much better to go with that than to tell them that their files were lost. But at that moment, I knew that Derek would handle this no problem, because I had put him in so many extreme conditions prior to this that he did not freak out. He knew that he had done something wrong, that the impact was huge on him. He tried everything to calling up Convergent Design, everything to try and find out a way to get those files, but there was no way. And, we just had to go with the CF card inside the C500 as our master.
And it worked.
It worked. But that is something that happens on shoots. And I try to do everything possible with my mentees to put them in those extreme conditions, because this is real life. It is not easy. It is very difficult. It's very stressful. The hours are endless. You have to be at your A game all the time. And I like to keep the atmosphere very fun on set, but at the same time, mistakes being made. There's sometimes when you need to take somebody out and say, hey, this is not cool. And there's sometimes when they need to be made an example of. And, those are because it creates intensity. It creates that, everyone has got to be on their A game, and that's how it has to function. We're getting paid a lot of money to do what we do, and I got to stay on time, I got to stay on schedule, and I got to deliver the director's vision. And it's a lot of responsibility that's put on the director of photography to do that.
Right. So talking about directing something, Act of Valor, how does that come along? Because that was kind of revolutionary to take a 5D Mark II and shoot a film with it.
Yeah, that was a very unique experience. The 5D Mark II for me was literally a wine and cheese function at Sammy's Camera, where the ASC was invited to check out this camera. And I wandered up the 4 flights of stairs, and they had a beautiful model and a gray seamless, and I, was able to put the camera in my hands, and I, hit the button. I didn't know what the hell was going on with the thing. People were assisting me, hit live view. Oh, wow, there you go. Immediately, I'm starting to see the depth of field, and I'm like, whoa, okay, this looks cinematic. I'm like pushing in at like a 2 and a 1.4, and I'm like seeing how shallow that depth of field, how good how amazing the skin tones were. I'm like, all right, so I just put that in my memory bank. All right, that's a tool I gotta deploy sometime. Mick G came to me on Terminator Salvation. We were releasing the film, and they wanted to do this alternative marketing plan, kind of a whole series of 9 videos that led up 9 weeks prior before the release. And it was, a fanboy scenario where it was a cliffhanger every video. And the scripts were written in this kind of vibe where he was talking into like a web camera. As a resistance, and the Terminators were coming for him, and he I don't know if he can last, and all this kind of stuff. And I said, well, what if we turn that into a helmet camera, and that he literally walks around and talks to this thing, and it's really immersive, and when shit explodes and he hits the ground, the helmet camera flies over, and it's just looking at rocks, and then you see him crawling into frame and dust and debris and all this stuff. And they absolutely love the idea. So my assistant Po Chan and I directed the whole alternative marketing campaign for Terminator Salvation, and did it all on the Canon 5D Mark II. And that was where I started to get my fingers wet with this device, and saw the power of it, what it could do, what it couldn't do, how I could exploit all of its greatness. And I mean, it was raw dog, dude. I mean, we're pulling focus with Starbucks coffee, a stir. The reason we liked the Starbucks is because they were thinner and more malleable. So it could take the roundness of the lens with a little gaffer's tape on there. And, the focus puller was pulling it like this. I did all Nikon glass on that, which, once that all came out, freaked Canon out huge because why is he putting Nikon glass on, our camera? Well, because, your L series, I can't pull focus on. It's 5 feet to infinity is this, a line like this, where the Nikons had a little more of a cinematic throw and they were manual. So I could set my f-stop. Oh, you want to set your f-stop? I could set my focus. And so that was really the first iteration of it. And then the production company that I was that was editing and producing it was Bandito Brothers. And the two directors, Scotty Waugh and Mike McCoy, saw that footage and they were like, wow, how is he able to, have this quality with this small device? Hey, Shane, we got this idea. We're going to follow Navy SEALs on secret missions all over the world, and we're going to write a narrative screenplay on this.
So these are real missions?
Well, they were training missions.
Sure.
Okay. They would do some other stuff that we really wouldn't know what they were doing, but then we'd come back and train. Right? So these kind of things were, and I was like, so is this a documentary? And no, we're writing a narrative story around these missions. We got Kurt Johnstad to write it, and we're going to go all over the world and film it. I was like, real Navy SEALs acting? All right, well, what's your first thing you got? Well, we're going to go down, and it was, Scotty, we were talking about this about 2 weeks ago. I was doing a Dodge commercial with him, and he's like, yeah, I remember how I, wrangled you in to actually shoot the movie, because they had a director of photography that fell out. They didn't know anything about me till I shot this Terminator Salvation marketing thing with them. And so they said, all right, well, why don't you just shoot this MEO, which is Maritime Interaction Operation or something like that. It stands for where they come in and they hit a yacht from the air and the sea. And we're going to go down to Key West. We rented this yacht. We've cast our actors. We got all the SEALs. We got our interrogator. Let's just go down and shoot this thing. So I put together a whole 5D Mark II camera package. We had 8 bodies. We had all sorts of lenses. I went to Panavision and I had them Panavise all of the 5D Mark IIs so I could use Panavision glass as well. So it was a mixed bag of Zeiss, Nikon, Canon L, Panavision, Primos, and we had remote follow focus. I had adapted all the cameras to be able to remote follow focus. We had zip gears on all the still glass. This was total, full uncomfortable innovation, pioneering, taking this small device and trying to turn it into something that could really function as a movie camera that had all the right pieces and parts to tell a story. That started, and I did the MEO and had so much fun. And then we went to Kentucky and shot this intense action sequence with only 6 people, where Night Stalker helicopters come in with boats slung underneath them at sunrise. They drop the boats. The Navy SEALs fly down the ropes, and then they tear off down the river.
So you don't get a second take?
Well, no. Actually, we got a lot of takes on that. That was the funny part. I thought it was going to be a one-and-done kind of scenario, and they're like, how many times you want us to do this? And I go, well, how about 2 2 or 3 times when the light isn't right, so we know what lenses tell the story the best, and then let's try and do 2 or 3 right at sunset. And they're like, copy, So we shot a lot of the helmet cam, where they literally fly down the rope and get on the boat and tear ass away when the light was, like at, let's say, 7:30 sunset. That was more around 5 o'clock. And then when the sun was right near the horizon line, we just shot the shit out of it. All 300, 600 millimeter lenses. I had a helicopter with the F950 Sony with the space cam flying overhead. I was in a boat, long lensing, and so we just attacked it. The directors operated cameras, the producer operated cameras, my ACs operated camera. Everyone was a filmmaker on that movie. It was a very unique experience, and if I had to jump back in the saddle of that again, I'd do it at a heartbeat, because it's just the core of the filmmaking process was so in everyone. I was the director of photography. Most of the time I was the key grip, the gaffer, and I was also the travel coordinator. So I booked all of our flights and all of our hotel rooms. And this is how we rolled out. Most of the movie was done with literally 10 people. Wow. It was an amazing experience. And taking the 5D as we know it and blowing it up to a 60-foot screen was something that really turned heads. They didn't think that was possible.
Do you equate that to the same thing that happened in the music industry, where you have to go into the studio to film with some kind of massive board, and then all of a sudden Pro Tools comes along and people are creating some amazing stuff in their garage? Well, not even, in their garages.
Yes.
It's about the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a massive revolution where storytellers and visual artists and people that had a voice were able to now share their voice. And that was never possible before. I mean, I think about my student film in 1986 cost me $45,000 to make, and it was 12 minutes long.
Wow.
The film, the developing, the processing, the editing. I mean, it's so expensive. And I know there's many people that spent much more than that. I know my roommate spent $100,000 on his. I don't know where he got that cash. Obviously, his parents had some money kicking around for him. But, I mean, it was an investment. Not only did the school cost $19,000 in 86 to go to a year, then you have to load $45,000 worth of your practicum film onto that. So with the DSLR revolution, I mean, literally you could shoot it, download it, edit it on your computer, inject Pro Tools, the sound, get licensing. I mean, now all of a sudden everything is just starting to happen for, people that never would have ever been able to afford for people to see their voice and to share their stories. And now it's incredible.
So how was it received, the movie?
The movie was received incredibly well. Even though, the SEALs did their best at their acting chops, they were real. And that was the biggest takeaway. They were not actors trained by SEALs. They were the real deal. Wow. When they went into a room and the way they moved, you never saw an actor move like this. It was a ballet for these guys. And that's what we wanted. We wanted that rawness. We wanted that realness. We wanted you to be able to, the movie wanted to be able to put you on edge. And that's what the 5D enabled. It enabled a small footprint to be so close and so up in there, so immersive with the action that it felt like a unique experience. It was released in 7,000 theaters. It made over 150 million the first couple weeks. Wow. It was a very huge success.
Well, can I ask what a budget looks like for that?
The budget was under $8 million. So, and Bandito Brothers sold it for $14 million, I think. So they made a decent amount of money on it, and I mean, it was so funny. I mean, we were literally working on credit cards that we had maxed out. I mean, we were all in. I was not paid for over 6 to 7 months. So this was an investment on everyone that was involved. It was not the normal way you make a movie. It was very, very different, and that's what was so special, because I had never had that electricity like that before. I mean, and we used live fire. Okay, imagine live fire has not been used since 1921.
Like actual guns.
Actual guns shooting. So we had this massive sequence where the swig boats came around the corner and unleashed minigun rounds at 2,400 rounds a minute onto the bad guys. Now, obviously, we had all their cars parked there, and we did some nice editing where you see them running and hiding behind their stuff, and then we got them the hell out of there. And then I was able to position 5 cameramen in very safe places to be able to document this battle. I had a chopper overhead to be able to get this tracer fire coming through there. I was on a profile shot, so all the fire was going this way. So I was on a profile shot over here, seeing it on tight lenses and a wide lens. I had a guy in the water, okay, with an Aquatech housing 5D, where the SEALs literally are swimming with their hostage in the water as the tracer fire is flying right over the top of their heads. That one was immersive as shit. The water's lapping over the image, and I mean, they're just like drowned rats, and we rigged explosions to happen in the cars and stuff and everything. And so there were 2 of us over there on different lenses. So 2, 3, and then 4. And then I had like a lot of lock-off cameras, rigged in the tree looking down. And then I had 2 5D Mark IIs that were in these crash housings. And I told when the SEALs came in, I said, aim. We had like little fluorescent markers, and then we painted them out in post. So I said, aim for the fluorescent markers, because that is going to be the POV of the people getting shot. Wow. Right? It flies right over the camera. Then I said, aim low, so I can get all the sand and dust and everything just blasting up in front of the camera. And then once you've done those 2 things, unload on that camera. So what we did is I took a 1/2-inch steel plate and I put it inside the crash camera box where the CF card was. So no matter how much they destroyed the camera, they wouldn't perforate the card. And that footage was unbelievable. Yeah. You can see the tracer fire coming right into it, and eventually, the whole thing just blows up. But these were the type of things that we were exploiting what this camera can do well. It's disposable, right? At that point, it was $2,500. Well, a Panavision camera or an Arri 3 is $450,000. So this is, in our world, this is something that we can expend, and we wanted to use it like that as well. We had a camera that we just sent right into the water, and the footage from that is amazing. As when they hit that water doing 70 miles an hour, the rush of the water hitting the lens, still staying afloat, evacuating out of it, kicking the windshield out, trying to get out. I mean, this was immersive kind of action that you really hadn't experienced before. And that's what made that, I think, film really unique.
That's some impressive stuff there. It's great to watch how animated you are. I mean, you are a storyteller. You capture stories. You emote them as you're talking about them. I mean, that's what it is to be a creative. Now, where did it go from there? Was that a catalyst to some other major projects?
Yeah, I mean, out of that started a ton of Army, Marines, Navy kind of commercials that I did based on all of that. Got a lot of action pictures started to flow in. I did Need for Speed, where we again deployed the DSLR model, as well, to capturing with multiple cameras, again, sacrificing and expending cameras, crash cameras, putting them in harm's way so we could get crashes that were so realistic. Like when a car flips over, I had, side mounts and 3/4 mounts and everything in the crash that are mounted to this vehicle. So when the thing's going end over end, the camera is literally in it. Sparks, dirt, shit's flying all in the camera. The camera is spent. Like at the end of it, it's done, but that footage is still there. So that was kind of our recipe for success with that, because the director wanted it all practical, no CGI. He wanted to be a stunt spectacular. And then out of Active Valor and the whole DSLR thing, my wife came to me and she said, you're doing so much innovation with this device. Why don't we start sharing? And in 2009, we created Hurlbut Visuals, which was at that point kind of a blog. And it was financed by my wife and I. I think the first year it cost us $87,000 to keep it up and running, develop the website, navigate it, servers, all that stuff. The next year it was $60,000 because we started to get a little help. And then it blossomed into an incredible think tank for filmmakers all over the world. The blog has millions of viewers, tons of followers, and as much as I gave out, I got back in return, and I really started to see the sharing of knowledge, the power of it, because it started a dialogue and a communication that just sparked more conversation and more knowledge being shared, and then many people started to see that power. And just like yourself, I mean, you're a great educator, and that education is one of the most rewarding things I feel that I've ever been a part of in my life. Both my mom and dad were educators. I was around it. I was seeing my mom systematically break down the sharing of knowledge to be able to then gift to the sixth graders. And I mean, it's like I was born with that gift. And so it's really become my second job and my passion to really educate filmmakers all over the world and give them a leg up and create a community that is absolutely caring and sharing. That's the thing. I mean, there's so much hatred on the internet, where people, just want to tear you down and immediately, oh, you're shooting with that camera, that thing's crap, or you're using this device. How could you even think about doing that? So we were like, how can we create a community that is not that really, there are no stupid questions, and it really can bring in community of members and of filmmakers from all over the world that can be newbies to advance. A whole plethora of this kind of community that really is a caring and something that has compassion, and then that always sees the glass as half full than half empty. And that's what I think Lydia has really, and our team have really built, is this strong community where you can be a part of it and get mentored by me, and you feel like you don't have to really know much about anything. And we welcome you into the community and we build you up, instead of saying that your camera sucks and you shouldn't be doing this and what were you thinking, and much more of a caring, and that community then shares of their knowledge as well. So all the intermediates are helping the newbies. All the advanced are helping the intermediates. I mean, it's an incredible think tank of filmmakers that just really share and help each other.
That's great. How do you stay relevant today? How do you stay relevant in this ever-changing creative world?
I think, think about what movie making is. It's art and science. And there's sometimes when the art is heavier than the science, and there's sometimes when the science is heavier than the art, and sometimes they're right at even playing levels. And I think to be relevant, you really need to understand what tools are out there, what these tools can do, what are their best assets, what can they not do, and then take that and be able to, then that propels my kind of creativity to like say, okay, let's flip the shooting paradigm. Perfect example is the movie comes out. Everyone's thinking they're taking it, they're going down the stairs, they're passing it from one person to the next, they're putting it on poles and, having it on handheld and then handing it off to a techno crane and flying it up in the air. These are all trick shots, gimmicks, cool things to tell a story. But how can this device revolutionize the movie industry? That's how I'm looking at it. I'm not looking at it as the one trick pony. I know it can do that. We all can develop those one-er shots. But how can it change the way we make movies? And that's where I kind of, just really rifled down on and said, okay, well, how we usually have been doing movies is we're on a dolly and we're on a slider and we get into coverage and we got a dolly grip and we got a dance floor and we're moving about and all that stuff. Okay, well, what if we get rid of all that? Now it's just one person walking with the actors. And I'll never forget Russell Crowe the first day. He's like, what is that? And I go, well, Russell, it's this really cool handheld gyro-stabilized device. It's able to move with you and react with you. And it's not three people reacting with you. It's one individual. And he goes, that's going to change the movie industry. That's all he said.
Yeah.
And by day 3 of him watching that thing move and ebb and flow with him as an actor, it was just, that's when I knew I was onto something. And that's where I just started flipping the paradigm and saying, okay, how can we break down how we've always done it and see it with, completely different eyes. And I think that's what keeps you relevant. It's like it's not only the artistry that you have to stay fresh with, like I landed in Philly. What do? I immediately go to the art museum and I immediately just look at architecture. That is the core, right? And I'm just, walking through the streets, looking at amazing art. that's, that art has to always be current. Art installations, modern art is always huge of how they're deploying lights within spaces, going to restaurants like you and I went last night. The whole mood and tone of that space was incredible. It's like that's a snapshot in my mind of like, okay, if I get a location like this could be some really cool attributes to take from that. I'm always trying to ingest and keep new ideas and elevate my palette and my brush strokes and my brushes and stuff. And then at the same time, keeping yourself relevant with the newest technology and what it can do, what it cannot do, and just trying to keep that at a razor sharp, bleeding edge of technology kind of stuff. Yeah. And that's what I think is the secret to a successful, long career. I remember going to my agent when I first started out. I had done a lot of commercials and music videos, and I came to her when I got offered an NBC pilot, which was my first narrative piece. And she goes, and I go, I don't know if I want to do it. It's like this narrative thing and everything. She goes, narrative is your success to longevity. Commercial DPs come and go. Music video director DPs, they come and go. They're flash and pan. But you make a movie, you're being experienced by millions of people, and you're infusing a emotion on them. And that's kind of that's what it's all about. I mean, I sit in that theater, especially for test screenings, when I saw Act of Valor, the test screening, the people went off on that movie. They just loved it. They reacted when I wanted them tense. I would look around and I could see them on the edge of their seat. And then when, he sacrificed himself and blew himself up, I saw they were brought to tears. And then when they successfully defeated the bad guy, they stood up and cheered. I mean, this is the core of storytelling. It's like you get that. I mean, there's nothing like it. I mean, it just fuels my passion and desire to continually to do my best work possible, is that experience. Just sitting in a theater where you're able to, with the story, with the director's vision, with your cinematography, production design, all the departments, coming together and delivering that emotional punch. It's awesome. It's awe-inspiring because that is just 400 people out of 400 million that will potentially see this thing. Yeah. And you look to China. I mean, Need for Speed did very well domestically in the States, but it was 350 million in China. They loved Need for Speed, the video game. So they were just breaking down doors to be able to see that film over there. And, now they want to do Need for Speed 2, and they want to do it all in China. So there's like all these different entities out there that's a whole other area that is about ready to just absolutely explode. And, keeping yourself relevant and being able to work in those markets is also, I think, very important.
Are you ever satisfied with what you complete?
Never. No. Bill Paxton and I, when we were working on Greatest Game Ever Played, we had gone into the color bay and I had color corrected it exactly like the preview screening. Really, really stark contrast. Beautiful colors. We had referenced Bound for Glory, which was all these reclaimed old Kodachrome prints from 30s during the FSA period, 39 to 43. And they had stark contrast. I mean, they were working at 6 ASA, some of these stocks, 12 ASA, maybe 20. And the way it took color and the way it crushed the blacks, but the blacks had halos in them, because it just wasn't, the complexity of the emulsion wasn't totally there. And we're sitting there and I color corrected it exactly like it. He came in freaked out. He was like, this is too dark. This is this is that. And he went through and he kind of changed the whole movie. And then I'm like, I go, can we just throw the preview screening back up and then let's see it side by side? Because from the preview screening, everyone reacted to the photography. Like, they were like, we'd never seen a movie look like this. We've never seen a camera move like this. We've never seen the experience of getting in the mind of the golfer. Because that's, for me, was the storytelling aspect, is how do we put the audience in their mind during this match? And he realized that he had gone awry. And we went back and we fixed it within the budget. I only had like 2 or 3 more days left in the color correction bay, so I did the best I could. But he goes, Shane, no film is finished. It's abandoned.
Yeah.
And I was like, you are so right on. And everything I feel that you just have to abandon it, because you'll get so mixed up with the completion of it, you'll drive yourself insane.
So before we abandon the interview, what's the future for you?
The future, I really am liking this double life that I'm leading. Hurlbut Visuals has really expanded, and 2 years ago, we added Shane's Inner Circle. So that's a whole membership site that you can pay monthly or annually to get inside the circle. So you're getting tons of knowledge that I share on every aspect of the filmmaking process. And that's really been, it's enabled me to spend so much more quality time with my family. I mean, when I think about it, trying to keep that balance when you're first starting out, I had Kira when I started the Rat Pack. And, after the Rat Pack, I came back and I was fully committed to not taking another movie for like 2 or 3 years while she grew up. But then you get on the relevant chain. Like, you do a movie and then you got to do a movie to keep the momentum, and your agent's pushing. You got to get the momentum. You got to build this career. You got to build this career. So, Miles got the shaft. I wasn't able to take the time that I wanted to take with him. But I'm taking that time now. So it's, where I was there for Kira in the 0 to 3 years, I'm being there with Miles from his 14 to 18. And I'm able to do that because of Hurlbut Visuals and because of Shane's Inner Circle. I'm able to take the time to say, I'm not going to just jump on another movie. I'm going to wait for something that really excites me, that it's a different life experience that then makes me even more uncomfortable, that sends my mind, going in a completely different direction, where I have to innovate and reinvent the wheel on all different types of technology and new cameras or whatever, comes my way. But that's where I'm loving of being able to lead this kind of double life. And the, my next project takes me to South Korea, and I'm going to be there for 6 months. And I have only been there for maybe 10 days, but this is making a whole feature film in their studio complex, on their stages, working with a South Korean crew. That's an amazing life experience. And I think that's what it's all about, is really looking at new cultures, looking at new architecture, just traveling the world and being a massive sponge. Even though you have 30 years of experience, you never stop learning.
All right. We're going to leave it there. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you so much, Jared.
And there you have it. What an awesome guy Shane is. The stories that he tells are awesome. I was inspired by listening to this. I know the rest of the guys loved hearing this, and I hope you guys enjoyed this style of a Raw Talk, more so being just an interview with me and somebody else. But when it goes long and it's an hour and an hour, 10 minutes of solid information, I purely enjoyed it, and I really hope you guys did as well. And if you were inspired to become a filmmaker, check out FroKnowsPhoto.com/guides, where you will find the FroKnowsPhoto Guide to DSLR video, as well as the FroKnowsPhoto Guide to video editing. If this inspired you to go out and do some of this stuff and get some education, well, pick up our guide, or you could check out Shane's Inner Circle. Just go ahead and Google or go to YouTube and type in Shane's Inner Circle, and you can check out what he has to offer as well. So if you enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up. If you liked it a lot, give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below, and I thank you guys for listening. Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com. See ya.